Yeah, you know, I decided yesterday at the 11th hour to not ship my car there and just go up. And so I'm just going to go up as like a volunteer and really just vlog it and capture it. The thing I was worried about was I'm shipping my car to the, to who knows where, to the hotel, I thought. And my concern was the ability to ship it. They're going to drop it off a day early. It's just going to sit there, and then they're going to pick it up whenever they can. So I didn't really have permission to do that. So yeah, I'm not. I wasn't gonna go because yesterday I was at the dentist office laying on the floor, in the fetal position, thinking that I'm cured, but not. So I didn't pass out, but I was pretty darn close to it a couple of times. So afterwards, I'm like, I gotta slow down. I gotta do something. So I'm gonna go and just chill.
So you're flying up and then riding with other people. That's the plan.
I'm not even doing that. I'm just gonna fly. I'm gonna catch a ride up to the facility. I'm not riding with anybody because riding with people is worse than driving. So I'm gonna just kind of tool around and video the production of the event. So I think it'll probably make for a much better video if I don't have to worry about trying to catch up with a group and get in with somebody and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about that now instead of dreading it. Dreading my car, trying to get it there. I'm just not in the right frame to drive it 10 hours. I just don't want to do it. So I don't want to put the miles in the car. I don't want to put the miles in my brain. I don't want to drive through Atlanta. I also don't want to drive around Atlanta and make it a 15-hour drive. So I'm just gonna chill. That's
Gotcha.
the plan. But it's gonna be really cool. There's gonna be 125 cars there, well, 124 now. So we're going to the Porsche Experience Center, and then we're going to Road Atlanta, and then we're going up to the ridges in the Smoky Mountains. And then I will probably ride along with somebody at some point, somebody nice and reserved, and then come back on Monday.
So just to differentiate here, this is the GT Smokies, not the OG Smoky Gathering.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is all GT cars.
Yeah, the spring event is the big charitable production they're putting on. There's going to be 125 GT cars in one spot. It's going to be a pretty big deal. Porsche, actually, like Porsche USA is a sponsor, and Michelin, and all kinds of. I got Sonic involved. I got Technic involved. Of course, I'm involved, and then lots of other HRE. Lots of big companies. Dundon. It's going to be really, really cool.
Okay, so you just got back in town. What was it, Monday, from San Francisco?
Yeah.
Posted a video there. Before we talk about kind of your experience there, we had a few folks wanting to know how nutrition went while you were out there. Did you stick to it? Did things go well?
Yeah, came back, and it's still at 232. So I didn't lose, but I didn't gain. So that was good. I was 232 even this morning. So I'm down about 4/10 from where I was when I left. So that's great. I took my lady vacuum packed all my snacks. She's going to do the same thing. So my daily snacks, and all I had to do was fill in with, reasonable meals. So yeah, I'm doing great. I worked out. I only got to work out 2 times, but 2 out of 6 days. And then actually yesterday, I played volleyball for the first time in 12 years. Whoa. Indoor volleyball. Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was and not so great. I mean, I did okay, but not to my standard, and that's the main reason why I quit. Is like it's not fun when you're not dropping the hammer, when you're underneath the ball and hitting it out of bounds and crap. I just don't like that. Yeah, I'm not very good at that, at being mediocre and just enjoying it. So, but man, I'm hurting today. My body hurts. So that's part of the reason why I was on West Coast time, and I was up till 1 a.m. ready to roll, and then I had to get up at 6 for my CEO's group. Yeah, so that was a interesting night last night to play for the first time. I have to bring the camera sometimes so you guys can make fun of how bad I am.
That'll be fun to watch. Let's see, you're 39 now?
Yeah.
So the last time you played was 27?
About, yeah.
So things are a little different now.
Yep. Yeah, and I was hurting at 27. But I actually felt about the same. It'll be even better if I'm like 205. I could probably play. I can still play. The very first play, I blocked the crap out of some guy. So I was like, oh, shoot, I got this. And then I went to hit, and, I just hit it, into the net. It's not good. I got a hold of a couple of balls, but nothing. I was hitting like the 28-foot line where I'm used to hitting the 10-foot line, hitting a ball straight down. So that was interesting. My shoulder's a little tender this morning.
Just got to get back to it.
Yeah. But I was doing my normal thing where in between each game, I'm hitting, just nonstop. Like everybody else just kind of putts around, and I'm there to kill somebody. And so I felt very different at 39, where in between each game, I'm not stopping. And I found myself wanting to go sit on the bench for a little while. But so I think if I'm going to do it, I'll have to take it a little slower, a little easier.
You're older and wiser now. That's what happens. Let's talk about your trip to San Francisco, because the video just came out last night about the PNS trip that you took, and kind of got the behind-the-scenes tour. It looked like they were pretty welcoming, pretty open into sharing with you. So just talk about your experience in San Francisco. How did things go? What all happened out there?
Yeah, the first day was I just kind of relaxed and hung out with my aunt and uncle. They live in San Francisco, right in the Haight, and right near the Panhandle, which is the one section of Golden Gate Park. And so I hung out there the first day, and then Wednesday, my uncle and I went over to the other side of the bay, south of Oakland. And so we took public transportation just for the experience of it. He takes public transportation every day because it would be like an hour and a half drive. Instead, it's like an hour and 10-minute commute via bus or the subway or BART. And so we first went to PNS, and I'll have the video up tonight. I gotta edit it now, but the first video I did was just a tour of PNS, and it was really cool to see like a good old fashioned, dad starts a company, sons come in, take it to the next level, and a good old fashioned American, sort of manufacturing chemicals business, and it was really cool to see how it's done. There's a level of sophistication to it, but there's also just a pure brute simplicity in that you have to take a certain amount of pounds of stuff and suck it out of a jug and put it in a bigger tank and mix it up, and then get the stuff out of the big tank and put it in little tanks or little containers. And there's underlying complexity in the origination of these different chemicals that they're mixing. But really, it ends up being like baking, lots of donuts, in a commercial type scale. And so we got to see that, and you see that in the video, and then see how it's done, how they put it together, how they package it, how they store it, how they have different requirements from ventilation to how it has to be stacked and put in a bottle, and how it's regulated and all that. So that's cool. I really enjoy, especially since I own my own business now, the process of how people got there. So I feel like I have a different perspective than most people that are there to be entertained. I'm there to just enjoy the process of learning and seeing how others do it. And I'm so fortunate that I'm able to go into these places and see how it's been put together, how it's done. And I like to think I have some unique questions that a regular, lay person wouldn't have. So afterwards, I asked Dave if he would make a soap, like make car soap. And so that video will be up tonight here, where Dave Phillips, we go in his lab and we actually formulate. We take the raw materials and combine them in a certain process via a recipe list, and she shows how we dye it, how we scent it, how what surfactants, what detergents, what process, how you put it together, how you mix it. And I've always wanted to see that, so that was fantastic. It was my favorite part of the whole trip. And so after that, we went over to Facebook. Tommy invited me to via last podcast, said, hey, you want to come out to Facebook? I'll give you a tour. So we got to see the polar opposite of good old-fashioned, dad, sons build a business in America to new school. And I'm still attempting to process that whole experience of visiting Facebook. The only thing I can liken it to is, when you walk on campus, it's very college campus-like, but more with a twist of going to Universal Studios. I'm struggling to understand how that could possibly work with a bunch of 20-somethings that don't know anything. And they're just turned loose on free everything, arcades, pure entertainment, and no schedule. So you can just kind of come and go. I even learned that here, thinking I could just have no schedule and everybody would just work their face off. It doesn't really work that way in most cases. And I don't have arcade. We didn't even have a freaking microwave.
If you had an arcade here, it might be a different story.
I understand the concept. The concept is that we're going to create an environment where it's so amazing here that you just don't want to go home. And they have a really amazing organizational structure. Like every 50 feet, there's a display, a touchscreen display, where every single employee is listed on the right. Every single building and room in each building is listed on the left. And then there's all other like quick shortcuts as well. And so if you wanted to request a meeting, with these 10 people, you click their names. It'll give you meeting rooms availability. You could do it instantaneously. So it's very flex scheduled. Everything is flex, which is really cool. But there was a really interesting dynamic there. Like again, I understand the concept, but I wonder if all the people there are more a social experiment than they are an employee. It was fascinating to see. I attempted to approach the PNS and any place I go to, Facebook, without any judgment, without any opinion, just observing. What is it like? How could I implement things into our culture that are like that? I think Facebook is probably the extreme on lots of underlying efficiency, but then human inefficiency. And I wonder how they address that longer term as they have more and more people. My suspicion is that 98% of the revenue of the corporation is coming from a very small number of people, very small departments, the advertising and the data mining departments, or data management. And their ability to sell things around that. But my suspicion is the vast majority of the other people that are there to justify the revenue, because obviously the public is ready to get out a pitchfork. But it was fascinating to see just a completely different organization. I'd be really interested. I am actually very interested to hear. I might do a little research just to kind of hear the thought process behind the organizational structure of Facebook, and the thought process. Like every single building, there's probably 20 micro kitchens where they just have anything and access to anything. And I understand that. It's just the company's making an investment and saying, look, we want to get rid of all this. It's part of your compensation. We have plenty of money to burn, so we're just going to provide you with all kinds of cush perks to make it a great place to be. And if it's a great place to be, then you'll be here. But they have gyms, barbers, dentists, doctors, attorney. They have anything, any service you could want. They have laundry. Everybody's laundry's done. You just bring your laundry and drop it off, and they, put it somewhere, and it's all digital. You can just put where it is my laundry, and you can really drop it off anywhere. Just all these amazing perks that is part of your overall compensation. But the question I had was, how do they manage? Like, how do you not get lost in that, especially if you're young and inexperienced? And they have a lot of young and inexperienced, lots of very bright people there. But it almost looked like, it looked a lot like college without a class schedule. Like, how do you know what classes to go to if you don't have a class schedule? And I think that's the concept, is go build your class schedule. We hired you for a specific reason. Now go figure out where you fit inside of that. And then Tommy was telling me that people get found out if they're not figuring that out. So maybe it's the better way to do it. I don't know. It was fascinating.
Oh, we had a question on Instagram. Jason Nolan. In your tour of Facebook, what stuck out to you about their campus and business culture? So between them and PNS, did you see anything that you're like, ooh, this might work, or I might want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook had no business culture. It had friendship and fun culture. PNS was very there's a California flair to it. But it was a culture of producing things, and you could tell at PNS they've been doing it a really long time, and everybody that's there has been there for a long time, and it's become second nature for them to produce things. But there was a very clear organizational structure and whose role was what. Facebook's role clarity is very fuzzy, and as a traditionalist, and someone who's an infant in learning how, business is organized and structured, I was just found myself very, very intrigued with attempting to figure out what Facebook's MO was, and I'm attempting to, fill in the gaps with something that I just don't fully comprehend, and then I start to question whether anybody comprehends it. I mean, there's some really smart people there. I just wonder if those really smart people just have a lot of money and they don't know what it's like to not have a lot of money. And so at some point, what happens when they don't have a lot of money? What does the organization look like then? How does it morph? Because at some point they may not. And what they're trying to do is continue to innovate so that they always will. But what if they don't? What happens when the micro kitchens and the free massage goes away? Do they have a mutiny on their hands of people that have become accustomed to that, especially the number of people they hire where it's their first or maybe second job? Are they spoiling or ruining the people there? Because I know that Amazon, Google, I'd love to go visit those places. They have the same deal. Microsoft, they have really, really cushy deals where they have lots of support and lots of things, lots of neat things that are free. But they also have massive goals, almost to the point to where if you use any of those things, you're going to be really, really looked down upon. I didn't get that vibe at Facebook, and maybe that's their idea. They want to go the opposite direction and be just extra supportive, and then 10% of the people are going to screw around, but the other 90% are going to be very productive. It's fascinating. And then I went and saw my uncle's company, which is a company where they build large automated machines that involve gases and things like that. They do one step in the process of creating a silicon wafer, like a transistor type, a big wafer for whatever chips, and the amount of intricacy and step-by-step process that they had to go through to, like, we had to go in a clean room, massive clean room where they're producing these machines, and to see that was really interesting. Yeah, it was cool to see different organizations, different structures. My uncle's head looked like it was going to explode because he's a chief operating officer, so he's a mechanical engineer with an expertise in supply chain. So his expertise is coming in and managing inventory levels, managing the people around, installing people to make sure that purchasing is efficient as possible. So they want to keep inventory as low as possible, but keep supply coming. And so they have lots and lots of forecasting. And then, of course, there's an engineering department. So they have accounting, sales and accounting, engineering, and then purchasing and receiving, and then of course the exporting, the shipping of products all over the world, and they're doing it in 3 different countries. Much bigger operation than PNS, but in a very, very traditional style of structure in building non-traditional, very modern products. It's cool. It was like I got to see the gamut of of America, and for years and years and years, I always wondered, like, who owns, like, if you drive up A1A or any coast, I'm like, who owns all these freaking houses? Well, it's all the people who own every business that you drive by. It's not the employees. I've always been an employee of like, of Facebook. It's the guy that owns Facebook. It's just fascinating to see that, see how that works.
So were you able to pick your uncle's brain? Did you ask him questions about maybe what we're doing here? Any advice he might have? I know he's somebody you kind of look up to.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a bit about, supply chain and how to get product and things like that, but he doesn't know enough about it to that we didn't get into it too much. We were just both, trying to figure out the Facebook social experiment, figure out how that works, and just in curiosity, fascination.
I want to go back to P&S here for just a minute, because some folks asked, while you were there and you saw their other products, are you interested in testing any of their other stuff that they offer, any of their products?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll try some of them. I have tried some of them. I like Breakbuster a lot. I like the fact that it's not sodium thioglycolate. It doesn't turn purple, and it may be a little less aggressive on wheels and things like that. So we'll try that. But yeah, I mean, as we get to the point where the store is more mature and built out, I'm going to be using all kinds of products that I don't have experience with. But at the moment, I have to kind of stick with what I know works and works well while we build this out.
And then, of course, the whole reason you're out there was the OG gathering out there in Monterey. So how was that? What was your experience there?
Yeah, so we had a small group. We had 8 guys. We went down to Monterey, and so Monterey is about 2 hours south of San Francisco. So we went down. Mike, you guys have seen the videos. Came and picked me up in his F80 M3 right in San Francisco, and then we headed down to Monterey, and then met up at right on Cannery Road there. We stayed right on the ocean at the Intercontinental. And Dave came from Seattle, and
Max
Nick.
Was there?
Yeah, well, Nick and Dave flew in. They rented a car. All the other guys were from somewhere around the California and drove in. And we did some driving. We drove like Carmel Valley Road. The thing that shocks me every time I go to California is the roads are so gosh darn bad. Like, it's incredible. When I come to Florida, and I take it for granted. California has lots of curvy roads, but it's like you're driving off-road. They're so bad. They're just so rough and beat up and just destroyed. And there's all that money there. You'd think they would fix it. So that's a little frustrating. No matter where you go, you're driving over speed bumps and potholes in the middle of the road. But then the interesting thing is as we're heading, so we drove up Route 1 all the way up to San Francisco to Sausalito the first day, and then we drove all the way back. We didn't realize that there was Route 9 and Route 35 that basically run parallel to that in the mountains there, and we missed out on all those roads. They were just amazing. Still a little rough, but amazing roads. And so now, next year when we go back, we'll know about that. To me, the driving part is something. I was giving Max a hard time. Like, we need to slow our roll on this whole driving thing. Let's drive like 2 hours. What I want to do is let's eat 30-minute out, eat 30-minute back, eat, take a nap, and then go eat again.
Lots of eating and naps built in.
Yeah. So but no, we did lots of driving, and second day we headed south I certainly got to see a lot of scenery, a lot of where everything's grown in America, where everybody thinks oranges come from Florida. They don't come from Florida, they come from California. Everybody thinks wheat comes from Kansas. No, it comes from California, most of it. So it was neat to see that, just to be a part of it and experience geography that I've never experienced before.
So how did that compare then to like the roads you drive in the Smokies?
The Smokies are way better. Yeah, way better. Anybody who says the best roads in the world in California, they've never driven the Smoky Mountains, because the mountains they have great roads and all jacked up. So the beauty of California is the weather. The whole combination of everything is magical there. Then you're like, we're in Santa Cruz, just a cool town, and then we're in Monterey, and we're in Carmel, and we're in these amazing places. But ultimately, the part of the Smoky Mountains are missing is all of the cities around it and all the culture around it. There's nothing there. But the roads, no contest. Absolutely no contest. The roads in the Smoky Mountains are the perfect combination of aggressive but flat but smooth as silk. The only thing that disadvantages the Smokies is you end up with a lot of gravel, because for whatever reason they gravel the sides, the shoulders of the roads. But yeah, the driving in the Smokies is better.
Have you tried any more of the Maguire stuff that you got in?
Yeah, I tried D101 in the interior. It's okay. I still have to play with it a little bit more. I tried the one car shampoo, which was okay. Adams is still better, so I got three more shampoos to try, or car soaps. Let's see, what else did I have? I haven't tried some of the others. So yeah, I've got some work to do on that. I'd washed all 3 cars here recently and kind of played with some of the Maguire stuff, but yeah, I'm not in any rush because my process is still great. But there's some stuff, who knows what needs to be added to the arsenal. Interior package is something that I keep postponing because I keep finding new potentials, but every time I keep coming back. So all the interior cleaners, I like the Swiss Vax, Griots stuff still better, at least at this moment.
It's good. Trey on Instagram asked that question. Plans for an interior package that's still on the docket.
Yeah, we've had all these things like the bottles and the power cords and the pressure washers, like the Karchers and those projects have kind of taken precedent over interior. I just kind of go with my gut. I just follow whatever I have an interest in, and and the interior is probably my least interest, but it is something I'll definitely do.
Are you still getting custom headlights for the M3? What's the
they just arrived, so I got to put those on. I'm gonna have a nice stint where I'm here in town for like a month and a half, so I'm gonna put those on probably in the next couple of weeks. I got a steering wheel for the 1M. I keep trying to find the darn interior parts. That whole center console needs to be replaced. It's all chipped up and beat up. I just wasted $130 on a part. It's not the right one. It's not even for a 1M. I don't know what the heck it's for. Maybe it's a 128i or something. So I got to find those parts. But I got the BMW Performance steering wheel. I ordered a Select front lip for it. I've talked about. I ordered the Brembos. We're gonna put the HREs on, see how that goes. Yeah. So the 1M is coming together mechanically. It seems to be working well. I did spend some more time. I almost bought the MHD software, but I don't know. I don't like it. Just don't like, it's so homemade. I don't like homemade stuff, even if it is potentially better. Because I was just going to do, let me just simplicity of this. Let me just get the MHD software, and then I go in and I try to buy it, and it's kind of clunky and confusing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where they got those tunes from. Maybe some people do, but I don't. And I know where the active tune is coming from. I know what I know those guys, and I know their history, and I feel better about that. Same thing on my M3. Like, I have the ESS tune. I know where that tune came from. I know, I don't know all the specifics, but I know those guys, and I know their track record. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I can still do the active tune, even though it costs 7 times more.
I want to steal a couple quick questions here off Facebook. I would like to know a preference on the strongest soap to use on ceramic coated vehicles. I have Meg's Hyperwash, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I recently washed a Jeep I coated, and it didn't shift all the grime. It was clear the beading was not there like it should be.
I just put up a video here recently where we were kind of sitting around discussing this, the topic of washing and using multiple buckets or multiple mitts, or, what kind of soap to use. And I get accused this all the time of people saying, well, your cars aren't very dirty. Well, the reason the cars aren't very dirty is because they're coated or waxed. So when I get my pressure washer out, so let's say I went and drove through, took the Raptor out, and I drove in piles of mud, right? And the thing was just covered from head to toe in mud, but it's coated with C-Quartz TiO2, and then we IR cured it, and then it has a coating, a topper of bead maker or something on it. So I go out and I drive the truck, and it gets splashed mud all over the thing. So then theoretically, I take my pressure washer and I wash off 90% of the mud, in the rinse phase. And then I get a soap, and I don't want to damage the layer of protection that I have on the car. So I don't really want to use an alkaline soap. Certainly don't want to use an acid-based soap, but I don't want to use an alkaline soap, a soap that would be higher on the pH scale that would then break down the dirt. What I'd rather do is use a pH neutral soap, something that isn't going to affect the protection. So I go through the mud, I rinse off 90% of it, but there's still that kind of funk, that layer of funk of mud and dirt or whatever, salt or cinders or whatever's on the paint. You're not going to get it all off in the rinse phase, but you're going to get most of it. And so let's say the difference between the truck being driven through the mud and then my GT3 being driven for 2 weeks and having some bug splatter and things like that, just that kind of Florida film of funk on it. The difference between those two, so let's say my GT3 was just driven on the street and it rained a couple of times during the last 2 weeks, and then I have my truck had mud all over it. So let's say I'm washing them side by side, I'm rinsing them both well, so the truck now is at 90% of the dirt removed. The GT3 is at 93% of the dirt removed. So I still have more funk on the truck because I've just been through lot more mud. So what I'm going to do is both cars in both situations, whether I'm in Canada or I'm in the desert or I'm in Florida or I'm wherever, or I'm in some magical land where the cars don't get dirty like Southern California, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to rinse it, get it to say between 90 and 93% clean, and then I'm going to foam the car, and I'm going to get 2 buckets out, and I'm going to wash it the rest of the way. And I'm going to use 1 pad, and I'm going to use 2 buckets. And now my truck has more of a film of dirt on it. But still, I'm going to take my sponge, I'm going to put it in the rinse bucket, and I'm going to dunk it in the other bucket. So I've got soap all over the car. The soap, I like Dylan's analogy. Dylan from Rupes talked about how foaming the car also helps remind you where you've been, because you're kind of agitating or moving the soap. So I take my sponge and I go like this. So there's dirt, and I'm agitating or helping release the dirt, which could technically introduce scratching. I take my mitt and I dunk it in my bucket, and a lot of the dirt falls out into the bucket, and I dunk it in another bucket, and some more dirt falls out in the other bucket, and I go back to another place where it has the same amount of dirt, and I move the dirt around. And I'm going to use 1 sponge on the whole darn thing, and I'm going to use 2 buckets, and I'm going to, I'm moving the dirt around to agitate it so I can do my final rinse the stuff off. So this whole concept of this, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but the whole concept of I'm going to use a single bucket, I'm going to use 12 sponges, or I'm going to use microfiber towels, there's still that general step where I have dirt on the surface of the paint, I've got to touch that and agitate it. No matter what, I've got to do that. And so the logic in my head is, if the top of the car is cleaner than the bottom, then using another sponge really doesn't make a lot of sense, because I don't have a lot of dirt buildup in my sponge. It's in my bucket. And so I think people get worked up or scared that I dunk it in my bucket and dirt drops in my bucket, and then I go back in, and so you're still taking the dirt and diluting it in like 12 gallons of water with a bunch of soap to make it even softer. The concept of me getting a fresh sponge to then touch the dirty surface of the paint, what is that going to do? The dirt is still on the paint. The dirt is on the paint. What little bit of dirt's in the bucket doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Because even if I come out of my bucket with a little bit of dirt, I'm still touching dirt on the paint. So the dirt is still there, and that's what the soap is for. That's what your protection is there for. That's what you're using a quality wash media, mitt or pad is for, to help alleviate that. And so if you're going and using all kinds of towels and things like that, you're taking dirt and moving it around. There's no way around that part. So anyway, that's my philosophy on that. There is, I've thought this through. I've tried every different way possible. That's the way I do it. It's not how to do it. It's just the way I do it. And when people tell me that I'm stubborn or whatever, no, I'm just telling you what my thought process is. And, you do it whatever way you want. I just think a lot of it's a waste. Otherwise, you got to draw the line somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to have 57 towels you're going to use, and you're only going to touch 1 square inch by 1 square inch at a time, and you're going to have 32 buckets, and at some point you just got to draw the line and use some good sense. So I don't want to use an aggressive soap because I don't want to strip the surface. And no matter how dirty your car is, you should be able to clean it. That's the whole point of having a hydrophobic protection layer on the surface. Makes it easier to clean.
Gotcha. That leads into a question here from Brad on Facebook. He's trying to decide if he should go with coating, CSL and XO, or stick with a sealant wax combo, 845 and Powerlock, based on his conditions. He lives down in St. Petersburg, lots of direct sunlight, rain, and my RS is parked outside. I try to do a maintenance wash every weekend, but what would you suggest?
So I thought about this quite a bit recently because I get this question a lot. The coating versus the wax thing. So the first answer to that, or the first reason to do a coating over a wax, would be because you're a little lazier. Little lazier in the correction and re-protecting part. I tend to be lazy on that. Right, because it's a 15-hour process to replace it. But you can't be lazier in washing with a coating if you want it to stay nice. So so it depends on where you want to be a little bit more casual. Let's not call it lazy. Let's call it casual. So with a coating, you need to be more. I think you need to be much more mindful of washing, because if you want it to last longer, you have to make sure you're managing water spots and making sure that you're taking care of the surface of the paint, making sure you're washing it well, because it's a lot harder to start over. For wax, you'd be more casual in the washing and maybe not wash it as often, but you're much more intentional and you really enjoy that re-correcting, reapplying process. That 6 to 9 months, you're going to strip the car and spend the whole weekend and do it over again. So the other steps, so that's one thing. Where are you more casual? Are you casual in your wash cycle, or are you casual in your re-correction or re-deconning cycle? Because you need to keep a coated car cleaner if you want it to last longer. So you need to wash it more often and really maintain it. Really be careful of scratching, because it's a lot more difficult to correct it out. So that's I think decision tree number 1. It's decision tree number 2 on a coating is how good are you at polishing? Because when it comes time to remove a coating, if you're an amateur and you got a Porter cable, or if you don't have a lot of polishing experience and you want to remove it and start over, it's not going to go very well for you. You're going to end up with a mess on your hands, and trying to polish, get it off, and then reapply another coating or a wax of some sort. And if you're not very good at that, or you don't have a lot of experience with that, I would spend more time. I would recommend a Colonite and a Powerlock combo, or some wax sealant combo, or just wax, or just sealant, something that you can easily remove with an alkaline soap and a clay bar. Because if you're not proficient at polishing, you're going to have a really hard time getting off the coating. So that would be decision tree number 2. Do I know what I'm doing in order to remove this coating in the future? So those are the 2 things that you'd want to consider when deciding. Cost is pretty much irrelevant now. Coatings are pretty inexpensive. That's why I don't know why anybody freaking gets all bent out of shape. I mean, Technic is $110 for the combo, or you can just buy CSL. It's like $60. And people are just always searching for some good, amazing deal. Well, the deal is already be had. Look at Geon, look at Technic, look at Kamikaze, look at any of these coatings. It's not a lot of money. So why do we need some generic crap on the market? It's useless. Just go with and I don't understand why we're searching for, well, this company comes out with one or that company comes out with one. There's no need to search. That search has already been done. Go to Geon, go to C-Quartz, go to G-Technic, go to just stick with the companies that have been developing for the last 20 years. There's no reason to chase and look for some perfect solution, because if it exists, these companies are probably going to find it first.
Well, on that note, I have a question here from Adam Gonzalez. He always sends us in some good questions. He's a detailer, and he's wanting to know G-Technic accreditation or other accreditations. Do you think that's worth it for him to get?
Yeah, I mean, the training part of it, probably not. What the accreditation will really help you is learn how to use their product and all the little tricks and quirks, and a lot of the quirks are bullcrap, but how they recommend you apply it. And yeah, I mean, I would want to convince as many of them as possible to allow me to become accredited so that I can offer their product to whomever I want. And you'd have to be artful about that. You have to sell yourself a bit. But I would want to be Geon, G-Technic, and C-Quartz certified. I would want all three of them, and none of them are going to want to let you do that. But their whole platform is bullcrap anyway. They just made it up. So why can't you go and get permission to be the guy to do all of the above? And it might take a little bit of convincing, a little bit of pleading, a little bit of promising, a little bit of something. But I would try to become accredited in all three of them so I could offer whatever the heck I wanted to. I think the way to do that is to remind that whole model, I think, is ridiculous. The whole model of we're going to lead with detailers is stupid. You should lead with consumers and then let the detailers reap the benefits of that. So you taking your best product and making it only available to professional detailers is, I think, it's a very flawed, very limited model. And so I think you want to figure out a way to have them allow you to circumvent that model. Shoot, I'd go become Ceramic Pro certified as well. But the way that I think you're gonna have to do that is to help them understand. Not, you don't want to tell them their model's flawed, but you want to tell them, look, you're not in competition with anybody. That's where this comes down to. Detailing is very blue collar, very, very territorial, very emotionally driven, from town to town, from detailer to detailer. I think you go into it, you're not in competition with anybody. Like, I'm not in competition with Auto Geek or Adams or Detailed Image. I'm not in competition with any of them, doing my thing completely differently. And you'll be doing something completely different than any other detailer. So I think I would go into it just dropping the whole competitive thing. Who cares what prices other people are charging? You don't want their clients anyway. You want your clients. And so I would use that as my discussion point around getting accredited from as many places as possible, having access to buy whatever you wanted to buy, and then making sure you're retailing and selling the stuff to your clients. If you're going to be G-Technic, you want to sell C2V3 or Beadmaker or, soap and pads and buckets and everything to the people that you're catering to. You want to teach them how to wash their car. It'll make your future experience better. And so, I always hear detailers talking about, well, I educate my clients. You don't educate squat. They don't care, but they do want to know how to wash their car. That's how you would educate them. And educate them by selling them stuff. You're not taking advantage of them. You're helping them. You're helping their car. You're helping the process. And, that's going to require you to step outside your comfort zone and maybe put up some cash or go whatever, family vacation you'd planned and use that money to buy some product. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Kyle here in the chat, and then we also had someone on Instagram ask the same kind of question. You mentioned you had a guy who would deliver the 1M to the winner of the raffle. When it comes to transporting a car, do you have like a national company that you recommend? Do you have a local?
They all suck balls. Biggest load of crap industry in the history of the universe. It sucks. Terrible. They're all terrible. I've never found one. I've called 75 of them. Worst thing that can happen is you get a broker. The brokers are full of crap. They'll promise you everything. They don't know anything because they're just going out and finding the company that'll bid the lowest amount so they can make the most amount of money. Yeah, that's a business opportune for for somebody to come in and run it in an organized fashion with transparency and something that's app driven. That but the logistics of that, of having trucks all over the country and distribution all over the country, is really complicated. So that's why the guy that I'm using is just a guy here in town who has a single truck, single trailer. It costs a lot more. It was it's going to cost $1,800 to ship my GT3. Because the guy's taking it door to door.
All right, so then the guy here on Facebook, M. Ross Rideout, he's in Central Florida, so you can email Matt out of his test garage. He'll get you the answer to get you put in touch with that person. What's your opinion on rinseless/waterless wash products? Do they work? I.e., do they actually encapsulate and lift dirt without adding additional clear coats, scratching?
Yeah, you have to be very mindful of it, and that you have to use lots of towels. That's where using 15 towels makes a lot of sense, because you want to lift it. You don't have as much dilution. That's what the 2 buckets are for. You don't have the the lubrication of soap. You don't have the benefit of pre-rinsing the panel, and so with a waterless wash, I use it very sparingly. You want to use lots of product and lots of towels. But yeah, I mean, I like Optimum's version. Ultima has a good version. I don't like a lot of the other name brand stuff. Their rinselesses I don't think have as much research behind them as Optimum's does. So I like the Optimum OptiClean that does actually chemically encapsulate and I don't think it lifts, but I think it at least encapsulates the dirt to hopefully, or at least some of it, to hopefully allow you to remove it without scratching.
How long should the wait time be between applying Colonite 845 wax to cure completely and then applying bead maker to top it off?
Yeah, I don't think anybody really knows that. I don't even know if all these loose numbers, these loose methodologies for me deciding how long to wait. The reason why I wait to apply bead makers, there's a very high probability your Colonite will sweat. So the oils come to the surface and you need to clean that or remove that. I don't know how bead maker would do if it locked that in, or maybe it helps make sure it doesn't sweat. I don't know. I haven't tested it enough. So my theory was, rather than messing up my whole application, which took me 3 or 4 hours to do, I'll just wait until after the first wash. Make sure the car gets parked in the sun, let the Colonite sweat to make the oils come to the surface, get that out of the way, and then apply bead maker afterward. And it seems to be doing okay. Seems to be holding up. Some people have said that if you feel like dust sticks to the car more, and I haven't really noticed that.
In your 1M wash video, you talked about the raffle, the membership program. You want to touch on either of those, how that's going to work?
Yeah, I've got the sweepstakes all figured out. When I say sweepstakes, the legal part of it. So now we have to build the pages on the site, get the shirts done. So we're gonna do 3 shirts, 2 hats, and then we're going to do membership light, membership premium. And that's how you'll gain entry. You can buy as many shirts as you want. You can only become as much one premium membership. The other thing I thought about doing, which I don't know how logistically I could do it, is if you wanted to buy more tickets, you could buy like a regular membership and just add $50 for every ticket or every entry you wanted to enter or buy. Because I think it's going to be a high probability of people winning, 1 in 5,000 or something like that, which is pretty. So, imagine you bought 10 tickets, you're improving your odds pretty significantly. It'll be shipped to anywhere in the U.S. on my dime. We'll figure out how to get it to Alaska or Hawaii and then Canada. Actually, you'll figure out how to get it there. I'm gonna apply $1,000 credit to that shipment to somebody in one of those states won. Or apply a credit to whoever if somebody wants to just come pick it up. But the car's really coming together. It's gonna be really cool for somebody to get that thing, and then hopefully it works really well, and I can do it with more cars. Do it with cars that we would actually want. Do it with my M3. I thought about doing it with my GT3. If it raises a lot of money, if it's practical to do that. And that that would afford me the ability to then go buy .2, Because again, if I sold my GT3 now, they're selling for 175 grand or less. I'd just rather just keep it. But if I could raise 300, in a raffle, and do that a couple of times a year, it makes the whole experience better for me from a monetary perspective, and it's just another way to help fund this whole destination creation.
And so July 1, is that when?
Yeah, July 1 to August 31st, and we'll see how it goes. I have written in the ability to extend it. We'll see if the states approve that, to extend it just in case, so I don't lose my shirt. Extend it up to 120 days. But theoretically, it would end on the 31st, and 3 days after that, we're going to do an online, live, digital, whatever, randomly generated pick. So it can't be any of you guys. It can't be any relatives of employees. Mm. So there can't be any sort of two people removed. Can't be any kind of connected to an employee or a relative. But like my buddies, the people that I've met over the years, can be any of them, because I am going to do this random. So we were talking about this. What if Mike wins the 1M? I said, well, I didn't pick it. It's going to be randomly generated. So I want anybody who wants to buy a ticket for a chance to be able to do that. And so, if Troy Sowers wins, then he wins. I didn't have anything to do with that. It's all going to be randomly done. So I need to find the software to do that as well. So those will be the two ways to enter into the platform, which will be buy a shirt, buy 3 shirts, buy 15 shirts, buy two hats, become a member, become a premium member, do all the above.
And are these shirts and hats going to be specific to the raffle, or are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to do them pre-order basis. So if let's say you bought the shirt on July 1st, you're not getting the shirt. What I'll probably do is produce them along the way, like in increments of 250 or so. Just so we don't have let's say we sold 5,000 shirts, it just was crazy and we sold that many. I don't want to have to try to ship those all at once. So what we'll do is produce them along the way. But theoretically, July 1st, we'll send you a new shirt, September 15th or so, something like that. So it'll be a pre-order type thing. Really, you're just buying the darn shirt so I can do this legally. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's a giveaway. I'm just a benevolent, beautiful human. I just want to give away everything because I'm so blessed.
There you go. You heard it here first. Matt's a nice guy.
Yeah, I want to go live in the street. That's what I want to do, so I can give away cars. That's what everybody on YouTube is doing. They're just paying back to the community in the form of them getting $500,000. So I hope that I get $500,000. The only difference is I'm going to tell you I got $500,000. Maybe if it's 500, I probably shouldn't tell you that one, but I might. We'll see. I wouldn't put it past me.
Here's a quick question about that in the chat. If someone wins the car, can they sell it, or is there an agreement?
I don't give a crap what you do. Yeah.
Yours to do whatever.
So, you're going to owe tax on the thing. It's going to be, even though it's valued at more because of all the aftermarket parts, I'm not including this. So I'm valuing it at $65,000. And so you're going to get a 1099 for $65,000. So if you make $100,000, now you made $165,000. You're going to have to pay, roughly 20% tax on that thing. So you're going to have to pay 13 grand in tax. If you don't have the 13 grand, then what you could do is just take the title. You'll have the title of the car. I'm going to hand it to you with the car, sign it over to you. You go register the car. So you're going to have to pay, you're going to have to pay the register it wherever you get it, or wherever you live. And that's on you. But let's say that you're 19 and you win it and you don't have any money. So take the title and go get a loan. Go take your title and your parents and go get a loan for it, and then get a $20,000 loan against it. Pay your tax when tax is due, but you'll have a whole year to do that. You won't be till April 15th. You'll have to do that the following year, and you could file for an extension if you needed to, if you need a little more time. So.
Or you could take off the wheels, sell those. And
take off the wheels, the brakes, the seats, and do that. Part it out and go back to stock. I do have the stock seats. We won't have the stock wheels. But you could sell the HREs for $7 grand and buy some used competition pack of wheels for $1,500, and there's $5 grand for you. So be creative. I'm not paying the tax. I mean, then you got to pay the tax on the tax. So on my payment. So that's how we're going to do it.
Do you have any updates on your usage or your feedback that you might have heard on the press hall bottles? A lot of them have sold out. Most of the 750 milliliter bottles have sold out.
Yeah, the only failure point I found is that some foamy products will tend to leak out the back of the tip, and then we've had some tips fail, and I think it has something to do with us having to torque it so tightly in order to get it to mist. So I think that the simple fix, well, one, it's going to take forever, but this is why I did the no warranty thing. We're gonna try to get 1,000 tips or so, just have them here. So we have them as replacements, so people can buy them. They'll be cheap, 50 cents a buck, something like that. And so I'm gonna get some tips, so we have those. Maybe get some straws, so we have those for when those fail or if they break or someone loses it or something like that. But the other fix I think is that torque it and then back it off half a turn. So maybe there's not as much pressure on the tip. I don't know what's going on. So I've already submitted that thing that we know thus far. I actually had a tip fail in an O&R bottle too. So maybe it's not alcohol. Maybe it's just pressure. It's funny. I hadn't had any tips fail at all until I made the darn video. So that gives douchebags fuel to say, well, he's just trying to get rid of his junk. And no, anybody who's gotten a hold of the bottle, as soon as you touch it, you're like, yeah, we're on to something here. These things are pretty freaking nice. I mean, even you would have to say, I mean, it's a piece of art, it's a piece of engineering craftsmanship.
They look pretty nice too.
Yeah, so you just hold one in your hand and you'll know why I'm chasing this. So I've contacted them. It takes them weeks to get anything done. And so now I'm trying to, I've sent photos and some video to the engineers to hopefully get some feedback and then obviously get some replacement parts for them and figure out what's going on. I sent them SDS sheets for eraser and O&R, so they have that, so they can kind of see what chemicals are running through them. This is what I'm talking about. This is the process that we need to figure out that I could have done myself over the next 3 or 4 years. Instead, we're going to do it together. And so in about a month or so, Bryce will get the Google Docs or Google Sheets set up so we can start to compile the data to continue to work with them. But this is going to take a while, to perfect these things. And who knows, they may never be perfect. We may not get there and we just punt. But it's something that I think a lot of people are willing to try. Clearly, a lot of people are willing to try.
The other new product that kind of came out about the same time was those extension cords. Locking extension cords, which also sold pretty well. I've seen positive feedback. Have you got any feedback from anyone?
Those are lifetime warranted, from manufacturer defects. So, I mean, there's not really any issue with them. They're just good. The head of the clipping thing is a little bulky, but the ProLock fitting. But other than that, I think they're great. They're stout. They're relatively pliable for what they are. Someone had mentioned when it's cold, they're not very pliable. I mean, I guess any plastic that would be the case. But yeah, I like them. I like them a lot.
Do you want to speak briefly about the wands? Kind of an update on what's going on there with our Cosmetic wands.
Yeah, as usual, Cosmetic screws up inventory. So I've had to not overnight, but air freight. I've got 700 of them coming. So they should be here late next week. So those of you who are on the list, you're just, your pressure washer, your order, you just know that wands are coming. They've been out of stock since day one, since I've started this thing. It's frustrating. I still like the ability. I like the idea of everybody knows it's everywhere. It's on the order. It's on the products. It's in the product update page. And we're emailing you after you place your order. That's key. Is I want to stay in communication with people to know, hey, you're in line, you're in process. It's out of stock. But I know I took your order, but I'm trying to let you know it's smart to just lock your place down, and we will get it out. I'm telling you, we will get it out very efficiently the second it gets here, because they're always going to be difficult to get. So if you wait, if you don't put your order in, then you're going to get stuck. And so then I think the better way to do it is the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, but that's part of the responsibility that Kyle's taken on here. Every single day he's going to the pile of orders that are waiting on wand and emailing those people to give them an update.
Yeah.
So we're doing our best to over communicate and to get in touch with those folks.
Yeah, and these are growing pains and supply chain issues, and it's hard because we only have so much space, and I only have so much money, and so I can't just buy 10,000 wands in hopes that they sell. We buy them as we can, and a lot of companies have responded to that and keep a stock. Cosmetic just doesn't do that. They're just too small. I think they have the same issues I have: space and money. So. That's been the issue. It seems like we've gotten Krensla. We've got a good. They've sort of understand how much we're selling now and the growth, and so they've been doing a good job projecting that. And then MTM has done better at that as well. But it's unprecedented for us. And then by proxy, I'm marketing this stuff for other businesses as well. And so other people are jumping on board to this whole idea of short guns and wands and foaming and all of that stuff. So, the suppliers want to provide them too.
I heard you mention in the P&S tour their issues with storing and everything they had to do, and they're paying San Francisco real estate prices basically just to have bottles sitting there.
Yep.
And as soon as I saw that and heard that, I was like, yeah, we're pretty fortunate where we are. We're paying Lady Lake, Florida prices to store, so
it's cheap, cheaper.
Speaking of P&S real quick, a couple of folks asked about the bead maker towel that you mentioned. Is there any update on that, or?
I don't know when it's coming, but it'll be, Rag Company, FTW is I think what it's called, but it'll be orange, and so I would guess in the next couple of months we'll have it.
Gotcha. Along those same lines, we keep getting emails as well about people who are asking about the Cosmetic, the new gun. Is that still months away?
Yeah, I mean, I keep messing them up with bigger and bigger and bigger orders of the current stuff, and so it keeps getting, getting not pushed back, but I'm running them at capacity. And so and again, I'm not the only one. There's other companies that now have a lot of their stuff that are getting the residual effect of the marketing of that we're doing of the product, and so we're getting there. So I should have the final prototype any month now.
Yeah, 6 months. It'll be 6 months. 6 months. We'll see. Is there a video coming out in which Jason Rose is talking about coatings?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll have that out this week.
What else can I not put CSL on besides chrome bumpers, headlights, plastics? Is there other things that CSL doesn't or shouldn't go on?
You can put it on plastic. Like you can put it on headlights if you want. No, it goes on pretty much anything. Don't put it on your glass because it's not clear enough. You won't have enough clarity. You don't want to mess with that.
Larry Velez asked a good question here on Facebook with regard to your driving and some of the issues you might have driving. Would a self-driving daily driver be liberating to you for times when your anxiety is making driving uncomfortable, and also remove the dependency on others to drive him during these times? So do you think that would be good for you, or do you completely freak out and wouldn't like that? Or
No, I've been thinking about that exact thing. I've been shopping Teslas here recently.
Uh-oh.
So yeah. The other option is to get a driver outside of Michelle. No, I don't know. I'm trying to fix it. I want to be normal. I don't want to be normal, but I want to get rid of these phobias. They're killing me. Yeah, I just want to enjoy life instead of being so gosh darn messed up all the time. And it's so funny. People are just like, you just need to smile and enjoy. And I'm like, I have the best life ever. I know that. I'm cool with that. I just have this phobia of contracting some sort of disease, and then that's gonna have me go to the doctor every day, and I'm gonna pass out every time. And it's just completely irrational fears that are ridiculous. And I'm trying. I'm gonna beat this.
Any updates on the GT3 RS? I know there's a lot of BMW talk with the 1M and the M3. anything going on? Any new exhausts to speak of? Or anything?
Yeah, I've got to do that. That'll be coming up here as we're catching up to some of the product creation stuff. So while I'm developing the interior package, I'll be doing the GT3 stuff. I want to change out the door handle pulls to yellow. I've got those. I'm gonna figure out how to get rid of the yellowing on whether I got to remove the PPF or polish the PPF and then recoat it, and then put the AWE exhaust to test that, and then probably order the Dundon street version, catted version. Unless I just love the AWE. So I'm going to be playing with that, just experimenting with it, and then doing some more driving videos of the GT3.
I'm looking at your calendar here. After this weekend, you've got like almost, like a whole month where you're not traveling.
Yeah.
Except, do you want the Tamco lighting trip? What's that about? You looking for?
That's tentative, but that's where we're going to go down. They have a full manufacturing capability to create whatever lighting fixture I want. So we're going to go down there and we're going to start to look at a bunch of examples and talk about capabilities and sit with some of their CAD people and try to pull out of my head what we would want for a garage.
And where is that?
It's in Stewart,
Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on how to prevent or counter the yellowing from the catless exhaust?
Yeah, cats. Yeah, I don't think there's any way around it. There's just not really much you can do.
A couple folks are asking about. It's funny. How are you dodging lottery laws with this giveaway? So.
Yeah, that's the whole calling it a giveaway, and then dealing with. There has to be an exchange in product. I mean, there's rules specific to it. I have to bond in the state of Florida and the state of New York. So you have to bond against the prize, the value of the prize. So I have to pay for that. So I have an attorney that draws up the legal language. I have to demonstrate that the drawing is not biased in any way. There's just, you'll see that it's like 5 pages of legalese that strictly limits liability and strictly all the strictly stuff. So that'll all be published in fine print or available to anybody who enters the sweepstakes. And so that's how we get around it. That's why I can't do Quebec. They have very stringent, very strict lottery rules. And so that's the that's the reasoning why we the 2 states require you to bond in them, and so yeah, that I have an attorney. I paid her; she's on retainer to go and do all that stuff.
Any updates on OGHQ 3.0?
Yeah, they started to gut the building, the office building. They're going to be clearing the land on Monday. So Tuesday I'll be over there checking it out, maybe grabbing some video, and then I think the architect should have the plans, and so we can figure out layout of where it's going to go and what we can fit. And it's probably going to be smaller than I want, and so we're going to have to probably keep this building too, and do some overflow stuff here.
And that's going to be 6,000 square feet or less than?
Well, the hope is 6,000 plus the 1,200 square foot office. So the office is done, and then we have to figure out how we're going to get trucks in and out of there.
We have a couple folks, one on Instagram and then one here in chat, are asking about they're kind of starting their own mobile small detailing business, and looking for either advice or when do you expand, when do you hire someone else? Do you have any experience or knowledge to share with them?
The first thing I would think I would do if you're thinking about doing that is, one, you look at it as a stepping stone to something else. I don't want to disparage any guys that are doing this for a living, for life, but I don't think you're going to want to be hanging over cars when you're 50 years old. So I think you'll want to think about this as a way to make some money now. And so if you approach it with that mindset, hopefully you'll be pursuing education outside of that, figuring out what your path is. And I know you love washing cars and love caring for cars. I certainly did and do. But I think you're going to want to figure out what's your not your exit strategy, but what's your progression. Is it into some form of boutique detailing facility. I think I would want to learn how to PPF as soon as possible. And so I'd want to figure out how to invest back. And so if you're doing mobile detailing, I'd probably have another job and do mobile detailing on the side as a side hustle, and take every dollar that you make mobile detailing and improve your detailing rig, and then improve your knowledge base. Go out and get accredited, travel if you have to. So use that money to improve yourself. But I would also have a really, really tight wash game. I would have really, really nice products. I would pass on those costs to consumers. And I wouldn't nickel and dime stuff, and I wouldn't pursue Honda Accords. I would pursue Porsches and BMWs and McLarens, and I'd pursue nice cars. Find some guys that be willing to pay you, that enjoy your company, and it'll make your job more enjoyable. So don't make frickin' excuses.
Another thing, when should I buy like trucks or iron them? I think Cosmetic right now, Chicago. So say your part-time job, and you're that much, but have enough paramedic, then maybe start thinking about hiring. You can live off that part revenue.
Yeah,
That's when you thinking.
I don't know, man. I just don't think I would provide anybody advice to chase that as their full-time career. To Bryce was talking about, some people had questions about, when do you hire somebody, when do you get a truck? One difficult thing in detailing is that if you bring somebody in and you teach them everything you know and you allow them to thread the business, so if they meet your clients, they know your process, they know all the products you use, they are able to do a car from start to finish, you have a problem. If you have anybody that's driven or smart, they're eventually going to realize that they don't need you. And so this is where employment becomes difficult if you're doing a service-related position. So you'd have to figure out a way to make sure that people can't thread it. And you're looking for servant types, not entrepreneur types. I know everybody wants to hire a partner. Or they want to hire somebody that's like them. And so, again, in this example, let's say you're a paramedic and you're making $50,000 doing being a paramedic, and then you start side hustling. You're saying, well, shoot, I'm making $1,000 every car I do, and I'm doing a car every weekend. Or maybe even 2 a week. So you're making a couple $1,000. You're like, man, I could probably turn that into I could do 5 cars a week, make $5,000, and quit being, doing my job. The difficulty there is that you're going to be having to do 5, 6, 7 cars every week for the rest of your life in order to maintain. And so then that's where scaling would come in, and you would then add people. And then probably have a facility so you don't have to drive around all over the place. So I think you kind of have to let it happen and see where it goes. But to me, detailing on the side should be something on the side. And unless you have aspirations to build a larger detailing company, and I think if you're going to do that, you better have aspirations in knowledge acquisition. You ought to be at Optimum. You ought to be at Expel. You better be at Rupes training. You better be showing up to places to get trained, to become an expert, so that when you do have a mortgage on a building and 15 employees, that you know that you're an expert in all of that stuff. All the while you're learning how to bookkeep, you're learning how to speak to a CPA, you're learning how to deal with liability insurance, you're learning how to deal with actually building a business, negotiating your lease, or purchasing a building. So you better understand how mortgages work. You better understand how business is done. And so if you're side hustling that and you have aspirations to head in that direction, this is why I say you side hustle. Which is really hard to do when you're doing manual labor, because you're going to be freaking tired. You're working a full-time job and then you're doing detailing. You better be ready to be in it and be willing to reinvest back in and sacrifice. Maybe you can't have an F80 M3 while you're doing all this stuff, or a Raptor, or some other expensive vehicle. If you're going to take that road, that really rough road of building a manual service business that's really hard to scale and add scale and profit to it, I think it'd be very short-sighted to look at it and say, well, shoot, I can charge $1,500 to do a car, and that's a lot of money. But you can only do so many cars. And you can't just hire people and teach them everything you know, because they're just going to steal it from you. No matter how nice, how much they like you, if you're paying them $600 of the $1,500 and you're keeping the rest, they're going to be like, well, why don't I just do it for $1,500? They're going to start calling your clients and causing all kinds of disruption. They'll be telling your clients that they're the ones doing all the work anyway, so what do you need them for? It'll happen. So anyway, I think you really need to sit down and think about what the exit strategy for you just doing it part-time is. And maybe you just let it happen, see what happens, but be intentional about your pursuit of knowledge. That has value. You know, all this pursuit of knowledge and wealth management does me nothing today outside of I have a knowledge base that very few have, that I could always fall back on, that I can use in the pursuit of my business. So whether you figure out any knowledge base in any field can have real value. So anyway, that's my thoughts. And I know it's kind of tough love there, but
no, it's good. You need to hear all that.
You know, I wouldn't, you know, I like my friend Billy, you know, owns Presidential. Gosh, I don't envy him. That dude works his face off. You know, he's driven and works hard, and he's, you know, so he's becoming, Billy's one to chase knowledge. Like he's all over the place learning, going to different trainings, going to summits, investing back in himself. And, you know, and now he has a facility, and he has a guy that works for him, and he'll probably have more guys that work for him. And, you know, I think he's hearing me on the, you know, step up your wash game, step up how people see and perceive you, you know, grow and live that, you know, that a business owner mentality. But, you know, he started out doing cars on the side, you know, part-time, and then started doing cars full-time, and then did it mobile, and then transitioned. But he's had a very driven path of pursuit of knowledge to make it a full-time gig, so that he can make a couple $100,000 a year, you know, and maybe more as a business owner.
Supercar Culture asks, do you keep any of your cars on any C-Tech chargers? If so, do you use surge protectors? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got it. Because I drive all of mine now, like at least once a week, I don't keep them on it. But yeah, if you're going weeks at a time, you should have a NOCO or a C-Tech or some sort of trickle charger to keep the batteries cycled. Otherwise, you'll have, you know, issues with batteries and electrical issues in the future. But my GT3 I'm driving at least a couple times a week, so I don't feel the need to have it on there, unless you were just, you know, you had 10 cars, then you certainly are going to need to have them on it.
Do you have any opinions or experience with the double down tube kit to extend the life of your resin on CR Spotless Deionizer?
I don't have experience with it, but it works. It's messy. So you've got to dump resin in there all the time. But for, what is it, $60 or something, $70, it's something that Glenn for RV Transformers kind of came up with. I'm pretty sure he pioneered that. And the idea is that you can buy resin in, you know, just bags, so they're not in cartridges, and that tends to last a lot longer. You get a lot more resin in the surface area of the blue tube, and then because they put that other tube that has many more holes in it, it just tends to cycle out, you know, the minerals content from the water a little bit more efficiently, so it lasts 1,000 gallons instead of 300 gallons. But you got to deal with the mess of the resin after the fact, before and after the fact. That's the only downside.
After the 1M raffle / giveaway, have you thought any more about what car you might want to get next?
Yeah, we'll see. This may change a bit. You know, I want to get a Corvette at some point here. we'll see how successful it is, because what I'm likely going to have to do is I have to get a truck of some sort. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. We need a truck to transport stuff because we're going to have to get storage units and things like that. So, and I was looking at trucks. They're so gosh darn expensive. It's crazy. Like I was looking at 180,000 mile F-250s are 35 grand. It's insane.
It's still cheaper than a Porsche.
Well, yeah, yeah. And so then I started looking at, well, I might as well buy a new truck. So probably what I'm going to do, this is where a Tesla might come in. Get a Model S, and have that be Michelle's primary vehicle, and then use the truck so we have it available to transport, to get a little trailer so we can take pressure washers back and forth. So that may postpone me getting a Corvette. I want to finish the M3, and so I'm going to have to get new wheels for the M3. I'd like to do a dyno stroker on the M3. So what may happen is I may do this, transition the Raptor to service. At least this is what I'm thinking today. It could change tomorrow. I've already changed my mind 57,000 times on this thing. And so I may then raffle the M3 when the M3 is done, if the raffle is successful, and then get I'm gonna start on the search for like 1,000-mile 2013 M3. That's perfect, and then rebuild that and keep that for the foreseeable future. So that'll probably cost me $90,000 for that M3, and then get that built, and then maybe early next year do a Corvette and experience that, and either sell that or raffle that. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. Wesley says buy a Ford Transit for OG. That's that little weird van-looking thing. So you driving that around town. Did Dave Phillips reveal any beadmaker secrets? Did you find out the secret sauce?
Nope. The only thing we learned was that they can't, the process, they have to flush the tanks specifically with beadmaker. So beadmaker can't be made after certain products. It has to be made, it can only be made after some other products have flushed the tank. Because even though they flush the tanks out with water, I guess it doesn't completely clean them. Yeah, so.
What do you recommend to replace a BMW M3 F80? I was looking for a small, fun car with torque to replace it. I prefer auto or PDK transmission, something under 70K.
I mean, an M2 could be one. An Alpha, but that that's going to be 85. So you should probably buy one used. You'd have to go. Yeah, I mean the natural progression. The natural progression would be to find like a 991, like a 2014, or maybe even a 997 Carrera S. They won't have a lot of torque, but they don't need torque. So something like a 997.2 Carrera S with 25,000 miles or something like that, or even find like a 2014 Carrera S, or probably in the 70s. If you got behind one of the wheel of one of those, I don't think you'd be disappointed at all. Or even just a Carrera, and keep the progression going. But that would be natural to me. But M2 is a popular choice, a little smaller.
Do you have any plans for audio in the M3?
Yes.
Upgrading there? What's that look like?
Probably Focal. Dyne Audio is a little deeper. Derek from Sound of Motion, Derek came to drop by. He was in Florida, and so we sat down and talked a little bit about what we would do. So I'd probably do Focal, Moscone processor, Symphony amp. Probably retain the factory head unit. So I'd have to do some sort of like a hardwired digital player of some sort. So Focal front and rear, we'd time a line and tune it, and then do probably single 12 and some sort of molded woofer in the trunk. The issue with that car is that doesn't pass through very well. The trunk is pretty sealed. So what we may do is do a footwell subwoofer like we do in the Porsches, and that would certainly sound better. Just require a little bit of space, but I don't have passengers a lot anyway, so we may do something like that. But something legit, it's going to be well-tuned, well-designed, really clean-sounding audio system. I may even do focal woofers and Dyne tweeters, because I like Dyne, the sound of Dyne audio tweeters much more. They're typical silk dome rather than some sort of beryllium or some other fancy crap that Focal uses.
This is a good question from Adam, because I was just discussing this morning. When are you going to add Sonic MSS Plus toolboxes to the OG store?
I just got pricing yesterday, so that'll be a project for this month to get MSS Plus. Pricing will not be online, so it'll have to be by quote only. They don't want that pricing available. I'm the only one in the U.S. outside of them that's able to sell it. And so we've got to build out that suite now. So we got to build out the MSS Plus line, both toolbox or, they don't really have a toolbox. It's just they convert the 52-inch cabinet to a toolbox by putting casters on it. But we'll have all that stuff up here, and then probably throughout the month of May.
And there was a bunch of new stuff that they were adding yesterday. Sonic toolboxes new on the site.
Yeah, S9, S11, S12. Yeah, so or S9, S12, S12XD. Oh.
Yeah. If you go to the store site now, we have a section for Sonic tools, and Bryce will bring it up. There it is.
Yeah, so that's all up. And then we'll be doing the tool bag, the bag for travel, and some little portable stuff. And I think we got torque wrenches up there now. And man, we're building. I'm building it one step at a time. The only thing I don't like is we're using stock images. It's so hard. I almost want to buy one of everything and then be able to photograph and video everything one step at a time. That's what really motivates me, is that longer term, the ability to be able to, there's so much content, so many videos that I haven't made yet on each product that I'm just so excited to chase every little nitpicky detail and provide that to the world. So right now we're so focused on getting the broader paint strokes done, the broader, product line built. And so then, we're going to build an unboxing and product-specific studio in the new facility, so I can just walk up to a table and open things and show people how it works. Or it'll mainly be less show people how it works, me discovering it. Here's what it is, kind of thing.
All right, well, we're nearing our time here. It's 12:28. Last month, April ended up being pretty much our biggest month ever here at OG. So thank you to everyone who helped with that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I hope it continues. But yeah, we're in a tight spot here. So when I get back next week, we're gonna have to figure out how to clean this place up. I think we've got a basic plan. So we're gonna get everything out of my demo area, so I can get back to videoing in there, because I got some projects in the M3, the GT3, the 1M to work on. And so hopefully by me sharing that, we'll continue to see the business grow. We'll continue to see see us evolve. And I spent some time talking to the guys at the Monterey event about what my vision for an OG vacation destination would look like. And so I haven't forgotten about that, so vacation, because my longer term goal is to have a destination here and a destination in the Smoky Mountains, and maybe even a West Coast destination. And so I have a vision for what I would want that to be. And it will be so counter to what every stupid vacation place has, some crappy building that has to be very, very, period centric, or not period but location centric, where nobody has any originality. They all have the same crap.
You don't want log homes.
Yeah, everybody's got to have the same stupid pine everywhere. It's dumb. And I guess they're thinking I'm dumb for wanting like a modern, high quality home in the mountains that I can feel comfortable at instead of uncomfortable. And things like having fitted sheets, simple things that are so simple that I'm going to market the heck out of by just, talking about how we're going to do this. And so, again, imagine 50 homes in the mountains in a community that's car focused, right on a road that's amazing, and a house that's say 1,500 square feet, but has a nice couch and a nice TV and a great kitchen and a nice fridge, and then has a 3-car garage with all the cool stuff in it that I would be able to then sell to people because they get to touch and feel it on their vacation. And there's a Carrera or a Cayman S and a GT3 that you could rent if you wanted to. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to make happen. And the numbers aren't as crazy as you think. You know, build a $250,000 house with a $150,000 car, rent it at least 20 weeks a year at some reasonable price, say $5,000, depending on what insurance costs. So it's not out of reach. It's not just for super wealthy. Limit the age of people that can come. You know, to be say 30 and above, and figure out how to organize families so they can come every year, and you have a profitable venture. I would like to own the whole thing myself. But maybe I only own half of it. Sell half of it. Imagine I came to you and said, "Hey, go get yourself a $400,000 mortgage. Chances are you're going to cash flow, you know, $75,000 a year on this property." You know. So anyway, I'm thinking about that.
I like it.
So yeah, that's the story. We're gonna keep pushing, keep driving. It's so much fun. I'm as you can tell just from my demeanor, I'm tired of traveling. I just want to stay home. I want to stay home and play here while you guys work. I want to come here and create chaos, and then you guys fix it. It's just awesome. I think it's great.
We all have our gifts. That's one of yours.
So anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hey, did we put that P-Car Talk podcast up yet? So we got to put that up. That was an episode that the guys from a P-Car Talk podcast, go check that out.